I have seen the end, and I have heard it named. The Night of Sorrows, the true desolation, the Everstorm. Hello, welcome to Way of Kings, Chapter 5, Heretic. And what's that a picture of? What do we got there? I don't know. That's kind of tricky to tell. Is it a castle? Is it a castle that's also a monster? Is it a castle that's also a monster and there's a sun in it and it's got a reflection on some water? I don't know. What is it? And we're back to my favourite bit of the book, the magic bit, as opposed to the war bit. Something for everyone in this book, isn't there? Finally, Shallan meets Jasnah Colin. Jasnah. Here she is, all upright and posh looking and extremely beautiful. You know all about that because you've read the chapter, right? But the really important and cool thing here... Whoops, I kicked the camera. Whoops. The interesting and cool thing is that on her free hand, because remember they have one hand sewn up inside a pouch, a safe pouch, she's wearing a distinctive piece of jewellery. 2 rings and a bracelet connected by several chains holding a triangular group of gemstones across the back of the hand. Well, we know about gemstones in this book, don't we? Remember the gemstones? Whoa. A soul caster. The word was used for both the people who performed the process and the fabrial that made it possible. Fabrial? Well, I can tell you that fabrial means just a kind of fantasy kingdom version of machine, really. Tool? Magical tool, I suppose is one way of putting it. Although, with fabri on the beginning, I wonder if it explicitly means tools of creation. Which certainly makes sense here, because Jasnah, as we meet her, is currently being petitioned by King Taravangian, who's asking her to do something, but more on that in a moment. Before she gets a chance to do it, Shallan presents herself to Jasnah. And this is the moment that it's all been building up to. Her journey. Oh dear. And this is the moment it's all been building up to. Shallan's journey, everything she's been through, which we don't actually know yet, but it's been leading her here to the moment when finally she can confront Jasnah and say, I'm here, you wrote to me and said that I could come and see you, and I have, here I am, may I be your ward. And Jasnah says, didn't expect you to actually come. And Shallan goes, what do you mean? Well, it's just usually when I send that letter to people and then disappear off without telling them the next place I was going to go, they tend not to follow me this far. Sorry, usually. Yes, indeed. Perhaps I will allow you to petition me for a place as my ward. Sorry, petition? And suddenly it turns into an interrogation. Jasnah is testing her on her knowledge of different subjects and stuff. And of course the ones she's asking about are all the ones that Shallan's no good at. She's waiting for the moment where Jasnah goes, well, what about painting and stuff? And then Shallan can go, aha, look at my amazing portfolio. I'm really sincerely very good at painting and stuff. But it doesn't go that way, and Shallan finds her tongue running off in a direction of its own a little bit. What with her having been taught by all those sailors to just say what's actually on her mind and everything, and she ends up, well, sort of being a bit, well, sort of, standoffish is one way of putting it, argumentative, shall we say. And as a reader, we know that this is make or break. Either this is going to impress Jasnah, or it's going to cause her to turn her away. And she's saying things like, I am disappointed. How is it that your mother considered you ready for a wardship? And it's perhaps with that exact line that her voice solidified in my head as being the same as Vivienne's from Dragon Age Inquisition.
My dear, it is hardly proper for me to blab the secrets of those who put trust in my discretion.
Possibly because that was what I was playing at the time. Perhaps you should be with your father, seeing to his estates and comforting him, rather than wasting my time. Shallan turned to Jasnah. My father has no need of me. Well, that was true. What? Wonder what that means. Well, before we can get into it any further, we turn a corner to where the king is trying to lead Jasnah in the first place, and there's a giant boulder that's fallen off the ceiling. I don't mean there was just randomly a boulder strapped to the ceiling, I mean the ceiling's made of rock. This big boulder has crashed down in the way of a doorway or something, and it's trapped some people, and one of the people is the king's granddaughter. Shallan edged into the room, trying to get a better look at the large glowing gemstones. Her heart began to beat a little faster. The soulcaster looked identical to the one she and her brothers had found in the inside pocket of her father's coat. Ooh. She'd never seen soulcasting done in person. The Ardents were very secretive in using their fabrials, and she hadn't even known that her father had one until they'd found it on him. Of course, his no longer worked. That was one of the main reasons she was here. Now, if you've read this chapter before watching this video, which you should have done, then you know exactly why these little bits are interesting. Did you notice them the first time round? And now the magic begins. Jasnah holds up her hand, the fabrial gemstones are glowing and fizzing, and Shallan, blink clicks it into her memory. Wom, 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 wom. Boof! Suddenly the rock explodes out into smoke. It's just gone. Boof! And that's what a soulcaster can do. Why it's called a soulcaster we don't know, but it can turn things into things. At the very least it can turn rock into smoke. And if you remember back a couple of chapters ago, we heard that soulcasters can make food out of, what was it, rockbud seeds or something like that? And I think we've also heard about soulcast buildings. So using these soulcaster devices, people are turning stuff into stuff, often stuff you can use, sometimes stuff you can eat. And after this magnificent display, Jasnah turns turns to Shallan and says, "Nope, sorry, I'm not hiring you." "Oh, come on, you've not even asked to look at my drawings." "Well, that's because I have no respect for and despise drawings in general. They're rubbish. Alright, bye." And Shallan is left behind, blinking back tears, going, "I will not give up, because I have my secret plan." And then we get a twist, don't we? And I'm not going to tell you what the twist is, because it's a twist, and you're supposed to be reading along with me. But wasn't it a good one? Suddenly the whole story becomes a completely different kind of story. Shallan's entire character becomes a different thing. Yep, you've still got me, Brandon. You've given me more magic jewels, and let it be known unequivocally that the period of my life where I pretended not to think that jewels, and magic jewels in particular, were awesome, is behind me. A bit of surprise drama. I was 100% assuming that Shallan was gonna win Jasnah over by doing something a bit snarky, and then Jasnah would be all like, "You got moxie, kid." And you've got the little jump twist at the end that totally hooked me. All I needed next was for Kaladin's situation to get shaken up a bit, and there'd be nothing to stop me from reading this book all the time. Details that we've learned in this chapter, which I wrote down in my notes the first time I read it. That is twice now that Brandon has said that Shallan can commit images to memory by sort of giving it a bit of a blink. Is this, I noted to myself, just a quirk of his writing, or does she actually have the ability to do this? Like the blink-click cameras in the Horus Heresy novels, which to you I've already alluded. Alethkar is one of the world's most powerful kingdoms, but I think we basically knew that, but here it is set out right. Shallan says, "My father was never able to find a suitable tutor for me." Read the study of history, and to me this suggests some backstory where maybe things went wrong there. We shall see. Particularly when Jasnah protests and Shallan says, "My circumstances are unusual, Brightness." About the gemstones, we learn that a cut stone, as in cut into a jewel shape, can hold more stormlight, in the same way that, you know, in real life they're more twinkly. Garnets are among the less valuable stones, but put enough of them together, of course, and you can still make, say, a chandelier hung with them, really expensive. And smoke stone is a new kind of stone. It's a pure, glassy black stone. There's a place called Dumadari, where Jasnah initially said Shallan should meet her, but where she eventually just sort of sodded off from. Fabricen's conundrum seems to be a scientific problem that is the go-to example of an unsolvable scientific thing.
Wait a minute, Fabricen? Fabricen? Maybe that's what Fabrials get their Fabry from.
In Carabranthian culture, which we are currently in, burnt orange and white are the royal colours. They'd have enjoyed the 70s. Everybody lived like kings then. Shallan's stepmother, who her dad married soon after her mother's death, is called Melise Gevelmar. Proving Day is a day when unreasonable demands either are regularly or were once given to the 10 heralds. The name Shauka daughter Hasworth is brought up, and apart from being an important person whose work you should read, the name itself doesn't seem very important here, except that it is used as an illustration of a name that is obviously Shin. Remember our Shin assassin with Sun in his name? And it comes as a surprise to Jasnah that they even have logic masters there. So we've inadvertently learned two things about the Shin kingdom that we didn't know before. So the soulcaster abilities we know about so far: creating water or grain from stone, forming bland single-roomed rock buildings out of air or cloth, and the greater soulcasters, like Jasnah's, can just turn literally anything into literally anything. They are seen by the Ardents as holy relics, and the Ardents are probably well annoyed that a heretic like Jasnah has got one. Why is she a heretic? Well, we'll find out more about her as time moves on. And so we shall move on. That's right, the videos are hopefully getting shorter. That's just going to happen as we settle into this world, and so each chapter isn't introducing as much new stuff. And let's all be glad of that, because it means that I can do these videos and chiefly edit them a lot more quickly. How shall I end this video? I haven't really got an idea for an ending for this video. So